My mother would often ask me to help her hang pictures in the house. This was usually about a week-long ordeal. First, we had to get out a level to make sure that it was level. Then we find a place on the wall. Then we would measure from the left point to the center and the right point to the center, the top of the wall to the bottom, and the floor to the middle. And then I would have to take out a drill and drill a hole, pre-drill, and then put a screw in or a nail. And usually I would have to put 2 nails in so that it would balance equally. And then we would hang the picture and it would be too low or too high. So I would fill the hole, paint the hole, and then repeat the practice all over again. My mother was very particular with how her pictures were hung in her house. And I love her, and may she rest in peace. But my mother was a perfectionist when it came to hanging pictures. And when it was all done, it was perfect, absolutely perfect and correct, at eyesight level, perfectly balanced, a beautiful thing. My mother was a perfectionist. My father is a perfectionist. Guess who else is a perfectionist? And it can be a great attribute, be very helpful in detailed things. I feel that I am reasonably competent at those type of things. But it also can be a cross and a curse. Some of us are perfectionists. Others of us, whatever. So when we hear Jesus saying to us in our gospel at the end, "Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect," that can conjure up all sorts of thoughts in our minds. Either, how can I be more perfect? Or, why am I not perfect? And we might be able to be a little worried or confused as to where we fit in this. The Lord challenges us in the words in our gospel today. Love your neighbor as yourself. Pray for your persecutors. Love your enemies. Turn the other cheek. Walk the extra mile. Give the person your whole cloak. Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Wow. Difficult stuff, hard to do by ourselves. By ourselves, impossible. But with God's grace, all these things are possible and more, and much, much more. All of us in this life are in, if you will, this arena, or this stage, or this field. And all of us are in this drama of our salvation. And this is the time in which the Lord is preparing us and inviting us and giving us His grace so that we might be saved. This moment in our own lives, the great drama of the spiritual life you and I are living at this moment, right now, today. And the Lord is calling us to be holy. The Lord is calling us to be saints, all of us. Whatever our calling is in life, whatever our age, socioeconomic, even our vocation, all of us, whoever we are called to be holy. We are called to be saints. All of us want to get to heaven one day, right? Right. So that means we're all called to be holy, and we're all called to be saints, because everybody who's in heaven is a saint. That is our calling, that is our vocation, that is what it means to be a Christian. And so we're trying through God's grace. And you know and I know sometimes we have good days, we're doing okay. And then sometimes we drop the ball, and we fall into sin, and we mess up, and we go backwards. But we keep trying through God's grace. And this is the drama of our lives. You know, I think sometimes, though, when we hear about being perfect, and God saying, "Be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect," We can sometimes look at our lives and we can say, well, I am so imperfect. I make so many mistakes. I have so many temptations. I fall into these sins. I lose my cool. Sometimes we can look at ourselves and we can realize how imperfect we really are. I can't tell you the number of times where people have come to me in confession, and after they're done confessing their sins, they often say the same thing: Father, I'm sorry, it's the same things I confessed last time. It seems like I haven't made any progress. And it's true, as I reflect on my own confessions, I pretty much confess the same things every time too. Most of us, there are these 1 or 2 or 3, hopefully no more, things that are the weaknesses, that are the struggles, that are the hurts, that are the crosses, and every time we go to confession, it's pretty much the same thing. And we can feel, boy, oh boy, am I so imperfect, I'm not making any progress. And yet I always chuckle when somebody says that to me in the sacrament, because I think to myself, thanks be to God, it's nothing new every single time. You know, blessed be Father, I have sinned, I'm impatient. I use foul language, I'm mean. And the next week's I've robbed a bank, you know. So don't do that. But we know our weaknesses well, do we not? And the good Lord knows, and He loves us anyway. So we are far from perfect. But I think the extremes that we need to avoid is, on the one hand, recognizing our imperfection, recognizing our sinfulness, recognizing our weakness, and giving up. And saying, well, I guess I am so discouraged that I might as well just fall into sin even more and give up and despair. We mustn't fall into that, because when we fall into that way of thinking, the devil is very near and he's got us. Discouragement and despair are not of God. And yes, sometimes when we're aware of our imperfections, we try to be perfect. And we can try to be perfect on our own, without the Lord, with our own skill and our own wit and our own context and our own money and our own looks. And we work, and we try to save ourselves, and we try to be perfect all by ourselves, and we very quickly realize that we're filled with pride, and we're either further behind than when we started. We cannot save ourselves. Pride is lurking there too, and so is the evil one. The truth is in between, that God is perfecting us. God is working on us. We are not finished yet. None of us is perfect, but we're on our way. The mere fact that we're here this beautiful morning means we're willing to try, and we are here by God's grace, and His grace is at work in us. Think of it this way, and this is a famous spiritual image. Imagine a sculptor with a block of marble, and he or she has this image in his or her mind of what the statue will look like, but in front of them is this big, ugly block of marble, rough. And so the sculptor takes out a chisel and a hammer and starts to hammer away at this block of granite or marble. And sometimes sculptor has to really hit hard and chisel away and beat on it and sand it and look at it, put it aside, come back the next day, try again, days and days and days to create this work of art. Don't you see? God is this master sculptor with all of us, and He's working on us. And if that block of marble could speak, perhaps it would say, ouch, leave me alone. Stop beating on me. Leave me the way I am. I'm very happy the way I am. And all the while, the sculptor works. And the good Lord is doing that in your life and in mine, through the joys and the sorrows, through the good things that have happened to us, successes, and also through failures, through the joys that we have, and especially through our sorrows, through the defeats and the successes, through the ups and the downs, and the hurts and the sufferings, and the great triumphs. All the while, God's working on us. Can we let Him? Can we stop fighting Him? and start cooperating and realize that he's working. We're not perfect yet. Far from it. You and me. But we're on our way. And the Lord's working, and he's patient, and he loves us. And the best that we can do is to cooperate and be open and to realize that perhaps when he really has to take out that hammer and chisel and whack away, and it does hurt, to realize that he loves us and that there's a reason, and it will be for the best. Jesus says, "Be perfect just as your heavenly Father is perfect." Sometimes we are far from it, but we're on our way. And by receiving the Holy Eucharist today, by praying, by listening to his word, by being here, we are well on our way to becoming perfect, to becoming holy, to becoming saints. The very reason that God has created us, the very reason that we exist, what it's all about, is to be holy and to be a saint. I have developed a new technique of hanging pictures. I take a hammer and nail, I look at the wall, and I figure I think I'd like the picture there. Bang! And then I hang the picture, and if it's too tall or too short, I take the nail out and put another hole in, and then another hole and another hole, and eventually I find where I want it, and it's done in 5 minutes. And you don't see the holes because they're behind the picture, And I'm very happy with where the picture is. So we approach perfection in different ways, do we not? But the truth of the matter is that God is perfecting us. Every day, every moment, every experience, every joy, every sorrow. And he's building us into a marvelous masterpiece for his greater honor and glory. And someday, you and I will be perfect. And what a joyful day that will be. May God bless you.